I'm Jitendra Shrimali. I belong to this place, so I'm very much in the place I originate from. I was born in Durgapur and moved to Rajasthan when I was about 2 years old. My dad was serving in Durgapur steel plant at that time, and since then, to the completion of my school, I was in Rajasthan. Then I moved to IIT Madras for my BTech at IIT Madras, and after working for a while, I moved to IIM Bangalore for my MTech. No, not my MTech. Sorry, very sorry about that. For the PGDM program, which is equivalent to an MBA. And then I entered the corporate sector once again. Spent a total of about 15 years in the corporate sector, and since the early part of this century, I've been in the academic sector, and I spent about, I was just thinking, about 18 years in the academic sector. So the total experience works out to nearly 33 or 34 years. That's my total work experience. I'm presently teaching data science. I'm also associated with helping students find jobs and working on research papers like any academician. That's me in brief, and I live with my mother at the moment. To a certain extent, the inspiration was more by need, in the sense that when I wanted to move to Rajasthan, the number of opportunities in the corporate sector in Rajasthan were not very high and are still not very high, and I opted to move into the education sector. Now, education sector part really started, was going on earlier also. I mean, even before I moved back to Rajasthan, I was in the education sector, and what really inspired was the fact that opportunities were not adequately available in the area where I had worked earlier, and a struggle with apparently non-existing or maybe fewer opportunities, as against applying myself all over again and saying, okay, let me rebuild my life with whatever resources I have at hand. Ultimately chose for the part on rebuilding my life. And while interacting with students has been a very enriching experience, but those are things that I realized as I moved around. I mean, those were not the real inspiration. The real inspiration was the need. My success mantra is working very hard, applying myself to the absolute fullest to the task at hand, deep commitment for the task at hand, and a desire to give the absolute best, and if possible, a little more than the best. As a result of which, even if I'm doing multitasking, oftentimes I find I'm willing to stretch myself to the limit and sometimes beyond, but not compromise on the quality. And somewhere it gives you an immense sense of satisfaction that you're given your best. My success mantra is, at the end of the day, what you're doing, you're answerable to God and no one else. So the day I meet my maker, I hope I'll be able to tell him I did my best. Wherever you put me and under any circumstances you put me, I did my best. I guess each one of us faces hard times. Hard times are not anyone's monopoly, and when you are facing hard times, oftentimes you are forced to design and devise your own solutions. So by no means can I claim any kind of monopoly over hard times. The one that comes to my mind at the moment, and what I want to talk about as an academician, is getting used to the fact that a university course curriculum, for instance, or a course curriculum, for instance, needs to be looked at from the child's viewpoint, which means if a particular topic has a weightage of 8 marks, and this is an actual figure I'm giving based on experience, and another topic has 16 marks, then what you need to do is you need to make sure that you spend twice the time on the second topic and less time on the first topic, irrespective of what your industry experience told you in terms of relative importance and application of these. Now, this is something that requires a lot of extra reading, Now you need to read about one of the topics, whichever you think you don't know adequately or whichever you think will not be so applicable, but the child wants to write answers and get those marks. Those were some of the difficult times, and the way I handled it is by spending much more time on reading and self-development. So the initial years in academics were not easy at all and required immense application to catch up on the complete spread of topics, as against my industry experience, where you tended to go deep into a topic and become so strong on it that you were regarded as a bit of an expert in that area. That's my struggle in academics, and that's what I thought as an academician I described. My inspiration is my father, my late father. He was born in a village. He lost his father at a very early age and had to move out of the village because good facilities were not available besides other factors. Education facilities were not available. He started his schooling very late as a result of that, and he completed his schooling. At that time it used to be the metric system, and went in for BSc program because he didn't even know about, he didn't have enough exposure to know about the value of engineering program. It was during the BSc program that he realized that being an engineer was probably a better idea, and he had a very strong application-oriented approach, which was noticed by his teachers, and he completed his engineering very late compared to what we see students do today. Having started late in life, he devoted himself completely to his job, and if to a certain extent my ability to apply myself comes from the way he used to apply himself to not just engineering, to making people around him feel happier, making the world a better place. The area where he lived in, he rose quite high, and he focused enormously on building religious temples. He built what he called a Manav Mandir. And in that, the idea was any god statue can be placed. Anyone who's willing to come and worship there, his statue can be placed. My inspiration is my father, and to a certain extent my mother, who again has an amazing ability to apply herself to whatever she's doing. Those are my inspirations. The quote that my father often used was, I don't know if I should call it a quote, but the message that he often communicated was, whatever you're doing, you're submitting to God. Don't always look at the intermediaries and let that color all your actions. I mean, a certain amount of, influence on our mind is inevitable. But at the end of the day, what we do, we are submitting to God, and what we submit to God comes back to us. For someone new to the academic world, I would say, start thinking like a researcher. Right from day one. Read research papers. The times that are coming are placing a lot more importance on knowledge creation and, writing research papers or doing projects which probably require applying for a grant and those processes than was the case, if I remember correctly, when I was a student. At that time, your teaching qualities and your ability to communicate in the class were by far more important than these things. At least that's how the world looked like to us. Today, I would advise all youngsters, start thinking like a researcher and don't just limit yourself to good teaching. That may not take you far. The skills that I would expect a teacher to have, an academician to have, is to conceptualize problems, communicate it to students. Good communication skills are extremely important, and an ability to relate to students would certainly take you very far. As a researcher, and that's extremely important and becoming more important with the passing of time, the skill that you really require is, can you collect enough knowledge, put it all together, and from that find out a possible solution which you can investigate further. Those are the skills which I would require youngsters, and which I would very strongly say youngsters have the potential to develop. Over a period of time, they do show signs of developing it, but they don't necessarily start there. And I would very strongly think if youngsters started there, particularly in the field of academics, it would take them very far in life. Problem solving was always a much sought after strength and continues to be so. If I had a chance to start my life all over again, now that's not a question that I have thought about very much, since a stage came when I trained myself to live in the present and not in the past, so that I could focus on the present and give my best to the present. However, now that this question has come up, I'm reminded of the times when I had finished my schooling and had taken biology as an additional subject besides mathematics, so that I could try for becoming a doctor. I sometimes look back and wonder how, what kind of a doctor would I have made, and if I had a chance to start life all over again, I probably would try harder to become a doctor and serve society more than I can do either as an engineer or as an academician. I guess there is a high element of service. However, what a doctor sees in terms of recovery of a patient and removal of pain is not something that a teacher gets to see very often. Yes. So, I mean, that's one question that I have asked myself once or twice, but never tried to dwell very deep into it. Well, if I had a chance, I would probably consider that as a career option. The memories I have of my childhood are from a place where my dad was working. I was given glasses at a very young age. If I remember, around the age of 5 or so. I mean, I may be slightly off the mark, but it was around the age of 5 that I had glasses, and the power was rather high, and that meant the teachers were careful with me, and oftentimes they would advise me not to participate in certain games. As a child, that was difficult to accept. I discussed it with my father, and he said, try very hard to convince your teachers to let you play football, to let you play hockey. And I did spend good lot of time in the hockey field during my school days. Well, I guess I was not a very good sportsman and probably more academically oriented. So over a period of time, I did tilt towards academics. But I have very fond memories of my dad telling me that if I moved away from sports, I would lose a very important part of my childhood. Spending time in the sports ground gave me good friends, and I enjoyed it. So that's the first memory. The second is as a very small child, and there I think I was about 6 or 7 years old. Playing in the sand was something that we all loved. You constructed what was like small huts and all, and you decorated those huts in a place where construction was going on, and the sand used to be oftentimes wet, so it would stay there for a while till next morning or till next afternoon when the sun would remove the moisture. And that's something that most parents disapproved of. But the place where I lived, there was so much of construction going on that this was one of the favorite sports for children. And more than once I was instructed by my parents not to do that. On one occasion, my dad had told me rather strictly that he wouldn't tolerate it any further. And the next day the friends came, and I was just about 5-6 years old. And while we thought we would go and play something else, we ultimately gravitated towards the place where construction was going on and started playing in the sand. And the same good old games, jumping in the sand, because it didn't really hurt, even if you jumped from a height, and building those small homes or huts kind of things and decorating them. My dad would typically return home from office when the sun was about to set. But that day, coincidentally, he returned earlier. He saw me, and I saw him too, and I was mighty scared. The fear on my face was such that my father couldn't stop smiling, and I knew that day I was not in trouble. Though I had broken a rule at home, I was not in trouble. I went back home, and my father just explained to me why he didn't want me to play in sand. And somehow the effect it had was the desire to play in sand went down enormously. That was enormous coaching, that there are times when fear may have a place, but at the end of it, what really sinks in is love, smile, and affection. I would say it's a combination. Education has immense role in helping you, formulate problems, conceptualize problems, go for problem solving, because education system, despite all its criticism, provides you fantastic tools at problem solving. This is something which is such a surprise to me. When people criticize the education system, they don't adequately appreciate its contribution to problem solving. Right from early classes, there is a certain amount of focus on problem solving. So education is extremely important in preparing you for future life. At the same time, education does not stop at the college. Your work experience is continuation of your education in a slightly different way, where you may not get degrees, but you get enormous skills at dealing with people, understanding their point of view, explaining your point of view, and it's a combination of these two that really make you what you are. Outside of work, I used to typically enjoy the company of my colleagues and chat with them, and it was a bit of a gossip, if I may say so. But at the moment, what I'm doing is, but I left it behind long back for various reasons. At the moment, what I do is I spend time with my family, and spending time with my family is enormous recreation for me. It revives me, it makes me ready for the next day, and that's my fun stuff. As far as a message to the younger generation is concerned, the only message I have is value others' time. Value others' time. When they give you time, please understand that just as you're giving a part of your life, whether it is a meeting, whether it is a long association, they are also giving a part of their life. And not valuing someone's time is, I would say, a very wrong thing to do. It's morally unacceptable. So if you are working with someone, respect their time.